Welcome back, my people. This is the Road to CA podcast, the show for aspiring chartered accountants to inform you, inspire you, and empower the difference makers of tomorrow. Today, we're joined by another aspiring CA, an Alan Gray candidate fellow, might I add. Her alma mater is St. Mark High School in Eswatini. Yes, she is from the land of Amaswazi. Today, she's also an artist. In fact, a double threat, a painter and a poet. And she won the Res for Res 2023 art exhibition. So I think I'm very interested in actually going into your background as an artiste. She is a third-year accounting student, financial accounting student at the University of Cape Town. She's a sister. She's a lifelong learner. She is the bubbliest, most interesting introvert I've ever met. It's very interesting that you said you're an introvert in your pre-information. We're joined by Adele Mamba. Adele, how are you?
I'm fine. How are you, Alunga?
I'm excited to talk with you because you're immediately when we had our first conversation, I learned that you are a curious person. And even in your diction, when we were talking, you spoke of finding the answers as you're going along the journey, which I think is everything that this podcast is trying to do. It's trying to find the answers. So I'm excited, man. I hope you are.
I'm excited. I'm
Mm,
excited.
mm,
And
mm,
this will be fun.
mm.
This will be fun. It's quite
Yes.
the adventure, you know. Never been
Mm.
on a podcast, but this is quite the experience. And
Yeah.
yeah, I'm just glad I'm here to join you today, this morning.
The first of many, Adele. The first of many, because I think podcast is going to be every day. And it's a medium that we can showcase, for an example, amazing stories and perspectives such as yours. So let's get started. Let's get started. Take us back.
Okay.
Take us back to when this whole chartered accounting thing started and why you started it.
Well, I'd say it started, I suppose, in like 2017. I was doing Form 2, which is called grade 9. And just happened to be like the highest in the class in accounting.
Mm,
And I just talked to my teacher, Mr. Gamma, and we're just talking about like accounting. I think he had just started doing his BCom accounting science at Fitz, if I'm not mistaken. And I was like, okay, what is accounting science? And he actually told me a lot of things that I didn't understand. He talked about auditing, like all the four majors, and
mm,
genuinely, I didn't understand what it was. I felt like, okay, I get it. There's a lot going on, but hopefully we'll get there and just understand. Because I felt like bookkeeping, which was what most accounting students in high school think is accounting, but it's just yeah, it's the tip of the iceberg, and
yeah.
I felt like there was just more to explore. There, I didn't have enough to say, okay, I know accounting. I just felt like there were a lot of gaps. Like I didn't understand why we're debiting, why we're crediting, but I could do it. It's more of
Mm,
like it was more of a process type thing where you could just remember, like do questions, because we did a lot of past papers at my school. So you just do questions,
mm,
memorize how it's done, and then apply it. And then
mm,
my teacher would just happen to add extra information. He was just that guy. He'd just say a lot because he was doing the course, right? So as I was like in Form 2, he was doing his first year in the BCom accounting. So he started with us. He was just more of like he was studying through us. But it's more of like when I talked to him, he told me that okay, I have the potential to go higher and actually reach the top. We even talked
mm,
about like the board that decides on the standards, the IFRS standards. He told me about that. He was like, if you can go further, be a chartered accountant, and then end up in that board. We even talked about like the World Bank at some point, and I was like, I could actually go there if I do CA. And I was like,
wow.
okay, No, and I do see it because wow, there's a lot to explore. And I just liked the fact that he said we should just keep on pushing and like really applying ourselves to the schoolwork and then just pass. And he always said the view from the top is always amazing.
Mm,
Really, he always said that. He was like, no, we should keep pushing because once we reach the
mm,
top, honestly, the obstacles down there won't even matter. Whatever was happening in the valley doesn't matter because you're gonna be at the top seeing everything. So it was more of like that, just having a conversation with my teacher who was doing accounting science, and I was just so proud of him when he finished because when he finished, I was like finishing high school in a sense. So it was more of like, you can do this, Adele. I'm sure you can do it. If he could do it, then I could do it. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna do it because my teacher did it. And
mm,
that's how it started. And accounting was always just so easy, I suppose. And I suppose when I applied for accounting, I was like, ah, I'm good at accounting, so I might as well just apply for it. And yeah, I did. And I just loved how accounting was, I always said it's me, like it's who I am, because it's really guided by principles. Okay, I know it's kind of limiting to just tie yourself down to one perspective. I think I'm starting to work through that now to just not be tied down to one particular trait. But like back then it was always like, okay, accounting is just me in the sense that it's embodied by principles, their guidelines. It's a very kind of disciplined career or
mm,
maybe subject, you can't just
mm,
be doing things haphazardly. You must follow a certain protocol or certain standard. And I was just
mm.
like, yeah, this is me, it aligns with who I am, I'm always just straight, never taking a lot of things. We're not fiddling here. We're just going with a straight line. If it doesn't work, it means I'm not the problem. Obviously, it's the person who's doing something that doesn't make sense. It was like that. Because if a balance sheet didn't balance, obviously, you're the one who didn't calculate the correct
Yeah.
thing.
Mm,
It was that type of thing. So yeah, it was that kind of thing. But then the more, we explore accounting, the more we just continue with the journey, you realize that there are different aspects to it. I mean, there's financial accounting, which is also called financial reporting. And then there's management accounting, which is costing, and there's auditing, there's taxation. I would say taxation and financial reporting follow a very rigid sense of approach because
mm,
you can not work without the legislation and the standards. But with like, so it doesn't really give you room to think. You're always in a box. You're always in a straight line, essentially. You can't maneuver. So it's more of it's very solid. It
mm,
doesn't give you to think. You can't think. You just have to think using what other people have already decided upon, which is it's subjective. I wouldn't necessarily say it's a nice thing it's a very
mm,
interesting, I mean, other people love it so much. But like, I feel like if maybe people would explore management accounting a bit more, because that is one module in accounting that just really tests you as an individual to say, like, how can you really apply yourself? Like, how can you just think,
mm,
think
mm,
different. You're given the tools, but you should figure out how to maybe build a trade. You don't have the
mm,
manual, but you have to figure it out. And if you figured it out and it works properly, then it's correct. There's no way it
mm,
won't work out. That's like management accounting for me. It's just a lot logic. It really drives a sense of enthusiasm and a lot of you get so interested in accounting, like you can think outside the box. You're not in a
mm,
box. Then
mm,
as for auditing is more of like it's that supervisor, that you have. It's just checking if you know what you're doing. That's all. It's just checking. But yeah, I think all in all, it all started with like my teacher,
mm,
really don't give much credit to teachers, but Mr. Kaba really inspired me to pursue accounting because he really had a passion for kids and teaching and essentially for accounting. You know, when a teacher is passionate about the subject and they're not just doing their job because they just want to feed their family and all that, they
Mm.
actually want to change your life and they're actually concerned about like all the other maybe subjects that you're doing. Because I feel like people who, okay, anyone who was taught by Mr. Gama would tell you that he really was concerned about like how you're doing in like your other subjects, maybe your English, your maths, your Siswati, your literature, and all that. He didn't want you to just focus on accounting. He also wanted you to establish a sense of balance. But in the sense, in that way, he also kind of he just used accounting as a medium to change our lives as a whole, I suppose. But yeah, that's just it, really. That's just it.
Del, I can, I saw that you aspire to also publish a book, and I was really pleased to see that. I think everyone who becomes valuable should publish a book because that's the way that you can cement and and also live on so that other people can leverage off of your value and your mistakes. I call it becoming a lost leader. And it's great that I can hear you've written about things. Your vocabulary is vast, and your ideas also. I think you've probably already gone back and seen. Oh, it was Mr. Kama. Oh, have you gone back before this conversation?
Wow. Funny that you mentioned that, eh?
Mm.
And the Lost Leader, I actually listened to that podcast
Oh,
and it
okay.
was quite interesting. Um, well, I did at some point. I felt like at some point in high school, I just started writing about the journey, you know.
Mm.
When I started high school, I had like a chapter one, which was called, it was chapter one because that was
Uh-huh.
my first grade, like grade eight, which is form
Mm.
one. Yeah, I wrote about that. Like I wrote about all the chapters until like I did my A levels. So there were six chapters in a sense, and all I elaborated on all of that. I had a manuscript and I don't know where it is. But yeah, I did kind of reflect upon everything at some point as I was going through everything. I think every December I would just sit down and write about what was happening the entire year, but like tell it in a narrative form of thing.
Mm.
And yeah, I really don't know where that manuscript is. I have to check it at home because it was handwritten.
Uh,
And I think at some point I typed it. Uh, yeah, I typed it. So
oh,
I
okay.
don't know where it is. But yeah,
You'll
I
find it.
did. And I just hope, hopefully I find it or I'll just start afresh. Doesn't
Yeah,
matter.
yeah.
But yeah, it really is kind of cool in a sense to see that maybe if I were to write something, it might inspire someone
Mm.
and really drive them to do accounting maybe, but like maybe pursue their dreams and know that it is possible. It is possible, regardless of the circumstances.
Mm.
You can achieve what you want to achieve. And as well, just listen to your teachers. Like, guys, listen to your teachers. They might have maybe valuable information and that can really get you very far, you know, because they've been through this journey called life and they've seen a lot of things. They might have networks and people that you don't
Mm.
know how they're gonna help you, but like they'll help you somehow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yo, that's true. Teachers have networks. I think we also, I guess, like, I don't want to become a teacher, so why would I chat to my teacher? Because everyone's all obsessed about talking to the person who's X steps ahead of you. But the teacher, and I even wanted to actually just go back to Mr. Kama, right? The teacher, that can just be someone's medium to realize what I think actually all professions are just mediums of realizing what's always been there. And I think everyone comes out perfect, but it's a matter of taking that and channeling it through a profession, through a craft. And I see accounting being that for a lot of people. We come in very general. We come in sort of just open to business. I just want to get into business. I know that a numbers guy is always required to be in business, so accounting is a good bet on my path. But there's something in that even in that topic of business, what is it that you are going to be in the business of? What is it? What is the passion that you are going to bring to the profession? Because I think the highest leverage thing that we can do as aspiring CAs is lean into our strengths, our passions and inclinations, because that's the way we're most effective. If you know in your heart you want to start this business, or you want to, teach, like Mr. Kama. I think Mr. Kama, what do you think his passion was?
Well,
Uh,
he mentioned he wanted to be like a soccer player, so that's like the last thing I remember. He told me he wanted to be that. He
mm,
wanted to be a soccer player. And then, but like his dad was like, no, he has to like find something that will sustain him for life.
mm, mm,
So yeah, he ended up doing accounting. And somehow he ended up being a teacher while
mm,
maybe working towards something in accounting.
mm,
Something maybe he didn't want to like go to corporate very early, but somehow he wanted to be around people. So students were like a better alternative to rather teaching. I think he couldn't teach in varsity, so he taught in high school. So I
mm,
don't know what happened along those lines. I'm not quite
mm,
sure.
mm,
Quite sure.
mm. Yo, but Mr. Kama, he's an interesting guy. Your story, it's already they're even learning from the people in your story. That's the thing about writing. Like now, you like I'm learning because when you said maybe teaching was as a medium, that's what clicked for me. Everything that we do is a medium. Like even just our existence, we're all just trying to cope with the human condition. Like we're all just trying to cope. Our pursuit of success is just trying to cope. I think with our finite time. I think subconsciously we want to be successful. We want to be rich. We want to, you know, pursue careers because we all know that we're gonna die one day. I'm getting a bit too hectic. I'm gonna be a bit too deep. But
Yeah,
Adele,
you're going deep right now. You're going deep, but like I
yeah.
think maybe with everything we do, we're
Mm,
just striving to be content. Because in
mm,
all things that we do as human beings, we can never be content. That's why we have
mm,
wants that are like an ending, but our needs are
mm,
very limited. So
mm,
we try to find something that might bring us closer to being fulfilled.
mm,
If let's say you aspired to be a CA, but like as you progress or take the journey towards CA, you realize that maybe back home, I could just perhaps start a kindergarten or maybe have a learning center where I help people upskill,
mm,
financial literacy skills and just teach people how to have maybe what do they call them, stockfels, and teach them how
mm,
they can work around that. And as well as this, Africa is very rich. Its soil is it's a gold, it's our gold.
mm,
So you can
mm,
teach people how to maybe tap into agriculture more and use those accounting skills to help them manage their finances so that it doesn't appear that they're making money, even though they're making a loss. So you just help people with your knowledge, That's like impacting people. Or you could just I don't know how you could use accounting more, but it's not really tied down to just working a 9 to 5 job. Well,
mm.
accounting is a 9 to 5. SCA, maybe it's
Yeah.
a 9 to 9. So it's
Yeah.
not tied down to that. It's
Yeah.
more of at the end of the day, what you do for others. And I
Mm,
think that's how we become content because that's how happiness is. You know, people say make yourself happy, but I don't know why it's always tied down to other people because you can't be happy
Mm,
without doing something good for someone else. So it always has been about doing something for someone else to make
mm,
yourself feel fulfilled. Really,
mm.
it's always been like that.
Yeah, man. I think, yeah, more and more, even as we know, we're young professionals or young aspiring professionals pursuing our career, my career, my life. I'm just realizing, it can't just be about me. And it just, yeah, it's not fulfilling. For me, it's just like, it's just not fulfilling. Yeah, I could do it all for myself. And obviously I would gain a lot, but there's something like deep that just won't work. And I actually want to circle back to that point that you made of you like accounting being like that thing that can help in everyone, maybe in agriculture, maybe in just financial literacy, starting even like kindergarten. Like it's such a great thing to be able to channel whatever it is you want because the numbers don't lie. I was talking to my brother the other day, and no matter where you are, I, basically what accountants can do, what they have the capacity for, is to bring us all back to the facts. Numbers are not subjective. As you said, you mentioned in the beginning how there's a science to it. There's a right, there's a wrong, there's a straight, there's a discipline, and numbers don't lie. Therefore, if you're the guy who says, "Whoa, whoa, 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 guys, I know there's opportunities everywhere. Just look at the numbers. Look at this capital project versus that capital project. Look at them on the return basis. What's the return that this one's gonna get? What's the return that this one's gonna get?" And that is a much better place, much more factual place that people can make decisions. And therefore, we all make better, more informed, fact-based decisions. And that's the space that you occupy as an accountant. You get me?
I understand, and you're right.
Mm,
It's
mm,
definitely bringing people to reality in a
mm.
sense.
Yeah, yeah. Adele, you are a
Yes,
foreign
Malunga.
student, right? You're a foreign student now studying in South Africa. And I wanted to draw attention to this because I think that even as like in a class there's 300 of you, there's so many people, you've talked to three of them. That's how we tend to do it in these classes in varsity. We don't know that there's people from another country that have struggles because of that very instance. Like I know that some programs don't accept you because of the fact that you're not a native of the country. Can you just talk to me and everyone about some of the struggles that you've experienced as a foreign student, to just show some light on what is it to be a foreign student in South Africa studying CA?
Well, it all starts with getting accepted into
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
these universities in South Africa. It's very tough. There are a lot of processes. I think most of the time we have to like do matric because our certificates that we get from our countries are not really scaled properly to the level that is required by uh, the matriculation exemption board. So we have to like do matric or we have to do A levels, and that requires a lot of money. It's a very expensive program because it's a Cambridge type of course if you do A levels. So it's very expensive. And well, after doing that, you still need to get your results processed by the exemption board. So that's an extra fee. It's around 700, 800.
Mm.
Mind you, haven't actually even started applying. That's just the first
Yo,
part of it. And then you
yo.
have to apply. Obviously, that's an extra fee. And then whilst you're doing that, you still need to pay for like medical aid.
Sure.
Yeah, that's like the first part of it when you're just doing the study visa and all that. And when you're applying for residence, of course, student housing always has complications. And as foreign students, we struggle because we don't really have relatives, some of us, and we don't really know a lot of people here in SA. So it's really it complicates a lot of things if we find that we don't have a place address because we need the place address. And if they're full, then it's might find yourself maybe at the library, I suppose, but it has never happened. But it
Yeah.
is a possibility. So yeah, race is very important, and it's usually the problem. At the beginning, accommodation is usually our biggest struggle, and finances, of course.
Mm.
Okay, but like finances, always you can always balance it out because your parents have to have money if you're gonna come to South Africa. There's a requirement by the South African Commission when you're making your study visa that you have to have at least maybe 10K, if I'm not mistaken, in your bank account. Your parents are supposed to have at least 10 to 20K in their bank account. And half of the time, it's very tough to have that kind of money because you're
Mm.
spending a lot already just to
Yeah.
come here and you have to spend extra to have maybe so it's sort of like a cushion. Your parents just have to have a cushion for a safe landing in case you fail and stuff like that. And
Mm.
then whilst you're here, maybe learning, adapting is an issue, but
Mm.
nonetheless, if you're a public person, you can always just fit in. But if
Like a
you're a kid
bubbly
reserved,
introvert like you.
ah, I've learned how to communicate over time. But like I'm
Uh,
really introverted. But like,
uh,
yeah, if you come here and you're from a different country and you know no one,
mm.
let's just say you
Mm.
don't know anybody and you just don't know how to talk to people or you're just
Mm.
quiet. You have to figure things out yourself and you learn the hard way. Like it's a struggle because everybody's minding
Mm.
their own business at varsity. So you will struggle
Yeah.
a lot.
Yeah.
You will
Yeah.
struggle like, doing things on your own. But eventually you have like a setup and then you'll be fine. You get settled. And then maybe applying for jobs. Okay, that's another thing. Getting a job is another
Yeah.
very
Sure.
difficult thing because you need a work permit. And maybe let's just bring it down to CA. We need articles, right? 3 years.
Mm.
And
Mm.
most firms really do shy away from kind of employing foreign students. Okay, Namibia is lucky because they have like Deloitte in Namibia, I think the last time I checked. So they're a bit, maybe they can maneuver a bit. But let's just say in general, all foreign students, it's very tough because firms really don't want to be with you in that process of getting your work permit. There's a lot of documentation required and it takes a bit of time. And because of that, they're opting for South African citizens quite a lot because it's a bit tricky. So it's like 1 out of 50 foreign students get selected to kind of
Sure.
have their articles in South Africa, and then the rest will have to like find jobs back home. And that is really not what something you'd want to do because there's a reason why you actually chose to come to South Africa education because you're
Yeah.
hoping maybe you're gonna get a job in South Africa.
Mm.
But yeah, it's that's the reality. And
Sure.
yeah.
Yeah, and it's cutthroat, like 1 in 15. That is an interesting for me red pill because the foreign students, like I have some foreign student friends, right? I don't know particularly if they intend to study in South Africa to finish their articles here. I'm sure some do, but those are the odds that they that are stacked against them. 1 in 15. So there's a 14 in 15 chance that it's time to pack your bags and go home, go back home. Like that's hectic. And I think on the issue of the foreign student problem, my problem with it is that if you are in accounting, it means that Adele, you are not, one, illegally in the country. Two, you are very competent. So an Adele Mamba being employed here is a skilled worker. And we have this thing called the brain drain, where a lot of us CA students, they're like, I think I'm gonna go to UK. I'm thinking about going to the US. We all want to leave, and now the skilled foreign students they have to jump through crazy hurdles, and they can't stay. It's like we're chasing away all the talent and all the skills, which is for me a problem. I don't know. It's a tough one, eh? It's a tough one.
Yeah, it's very tough. It's very tough. But I think it's more of a your the unemployment rate in South Africa is very high. So
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think the government is really doing their best. They're trying their
Mm,
best to just accommodate everybody. You know,
mm,
you
mm,
you should take first priority as South African citizens, and then other people can then be accommodated. So it would be
mm.
unfair to you guys if maybe other people took priority, because you are also struggling. I mean, even
True.
doctors are unemployed these days.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like the government trying to sort this issue of unemployment out. So in a sense, it
Mm,
is understandable if you think about it, but
mm.
it's a bit unfair to the parties affected, but
True.
it's okay.
It's such a complex issue, such a finicky one. Let's go deeper down the struggles path. I'm sorry to be going down this difficult road but this is the road to CA, so it's tough. Um,
It's
you
okay.
you experienced something really tough back in first year, and it was not your choice. It was not your doing. It was a matter of circumstance. Can you walk me through that really tough time so that aspiring CAs can also get through similar instances back when you came to UCT all the way from Swaziland?
Okay,
Mm.
maybe I should just start from the beginning and
Okay,
how
let's
it
start from
actually
the beginning.
happened. Um, well, at the beginning of 2022, um, I wasn't aware that my mom is sick, you know.
Mm.
I wasn't aware. I was told after I got my A levels results. I think towards February, yeah, towards the end of January that year. Uh, yeah, and it really, yeah, it changed a lot because I was having thoughts of like, what if I lose my mom? I'm here trying
Mm.
to go to varsity. I mean,
Oh,
I got rejected in some universities,
yeah.
I won't mention, but yeah, UCT accepted me, and that's fine. And okay, my mom is sick. She's going to have an operation. I'm there like struggling to get funding,
Mm.
because hey, it's tough getting a government scholarship, especially when there are a lot
Yeah.
of us who did A levels.
Hmm.
Yeah, especially going to UCT because UCT is very expensive. So ish, it's a lot. It's a very competitive thing. But then Alan Gray pulled through for me, thank God. And then whilst working through that and sorting out everything about study permits, my mom was going for an operation and I wasn't sure if she was going to make it or all that. But she did. And then she was at home. She took a sick leave for a couple of months. But as I was preparing to leave, it was very tough on me to
Mm.
just see her like that, because I'm packing, I'm doing everything. It's supposed to be an exciting moment for all of us,
Still,
but
yeah, yeah,
she's just sick and there's nothing I can do. Like, I have to go. I have to go. And I
yeah.
was
Mm.
late for school, I
Mm.
just had to
Yo,
go.
yo.
So yeah, I left with the whole situation a bit unclear as to if she'll recover or not, or it might have complications, her operation might have complications. Yeah, and yeah, I left and I got to UCT. And as I was in first year, I was in my room at Tago. I was like, "Ish, okay, the situation is at home is a bit,
Mm.
it's unfair, because I never thought it'd be like that when I go to varsity. My mom is sick. I don't know. Any day they might tell me she's gone. It's really tough. And yeah, each time we talk via video call, they'll be acting like it's fine, but
Mm.
I didn't think it was fine, because I'm like, I left my siblings. They're experiencing everything. Like they're also going to school and then coming
Yo.
back and seeing mom like that she's in bed. She couldn't move a lot. She couldn't move her arms. Yeah, it was a very hectic operation. So yeah, she basically couldn't really do anything on her own. So yeah, just maybe they were going to school and then coming back and seeing her like that, and I'm here. I'm trying to learn. I'm trying to catch
Mm,
up. It's complicated, and they're not saying anything. That's the thing, because
mm,
nobody can tell me anything. Because yeah, there's my dad at home, but like he also won't say anything because he
mm,
wants me to
mm,
focus. You
mm,
know,
mm,
I
mm.
came late. I'm trying to catch up. I have to
Yeah.
pause because I have to retain my bursary. It
Yeah.
was just weird on me. And they're not saying anything because I actually want to know what's happening. Like, be kept up to date. And it's just, I'm not getting the information. I'm not getting the information. You know, our families, guys, they do a lot to protect us. Like, for real. They just, honestly, everything they do is they in their best interest. They really want us to succeed at varsity because they know it gets tough. So they don't want to be an extra burden. But the fact that you care about them, it takes a lot from you as a student. You think about it, and that can distract you in ways that you can't even imagine. It really drains you. And yeah, with that I had to just go to therapy, and just
Mm,
understand that she'll be fine, and maybe this is God's way of just showing us that he's still there, he still got us, and yeah, that's just
mm,
it.
mm. And the word that came to my mind when you were mentioning that feeling when there was this pressure of your bursary, like now you're literally across, you're across the continent. Now because Eswatini to Cape Town is not a short distance. And add the border, the actual border, it's not a short way. And there's just so much pressure. I just thought about the word powerless. Like, you feel powerless in such a moment, because it's not like you could just fly back or you know do something to make it better. Like, but at the same time, there's still so much pressure, and you're also an older sibling. You're the eldest of three. Am I correct?
Mhm.
Yes. And so now there's you are someone who feels responsible, and having that powerlessness is tough. That feeling of powerlessness. What would you say someone going through a similar situation? What do you think they should do in order to cope with it? Because now you're past it. You've processed it quite well. What would you say they should maybe do as a little bit of advice from your perspective?
Um, well, I believe in God,
Mm,
and
mm,
God is there, guys.
mm,
So yeah, I would honestly just say pray. Pray, and God will give you the strength to realize that sometimes some things are just out of your control, and
mm,
it's okay.
mm,
It's okay. Trust that He will be with you through it all. And as well, meet Him halfway. If you need to talk to someone, even if it's a
mm,
friend. Okay, if you feel like a friend can't help you, go for therapy. If you can't
mm,
pay for those expensive therapists, I'm sure every university has a student counselor. They do have it. So just go for those sessions and they will help you. They will.
mm,
They are
I
always
think
available. You
the
you
the
just need to reach out.
the two huge things that you've said is, so for those who are religious, prayer can take you out of those dark spaces. And I think to translate for those who aren't, making peace with the uncontrollable. That is huge, 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 because if you cannot do anything about it, just forget about it because it's nothing you can control. It's not like it's not like studying next week for the test. That's within your control. Studying for the test next week is absolutely within your control. But such instances aren't. And so making peace with it has to happen. And peace comes through prayer. So pray about it, you know. And then the second one is speak up. That's talking to the people around you. And I think professional help really helps if you are not comfortable with certain people saying certain things. It really helps with having a contractually safe space. You know what I'm saying? It's literally you've paid for this being in a university. You have a contractually safe space, and so using those and speaking up in those instances is key. You are also very curious, Adele. Now I want to zone into the book. What would that book be about, do you think, that you aspire to write?
Um, wow. I wonder what it's gonna be about.
Uh, uh,
You know, at one point I thought maybe it should be an autobiography,
mm-hmm,
and but I feel like that is a bit overrated as well. I mean, everybody might be doing that. I feel like celebrities do that, or they do what is it called? A memoir,
yeah,
something like that,
memoir. Yeah,
something
yeah.
like that. Yeah, so it's like it might be a trend. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it might be me just falling into a trend. I don't want something like that.
Mm.
But honestly, um, and then another thing I had was just having maybe a book for kids,
Oh,
a coloring that is very
okay.
unique, like
Uh,
something that just blends art but is also impactful, something
mm,
that allows us to just, because the more we continue with the years, it's the more we realize that tech and gadgets are going to dominate our lives. Honestly,
mm, mm,
everything that we do needs our phones, our laptops, so we're always glued to our screens. So I was hoping for something maybe that's different in the sense that it allows families to bond, and maybe if they could do like coloring, something that is artistic but use
mm,
DIY type of tools to maybe fill in the spaces, make
mm,
something like a guideline, sort of like a book with a guideline of how to do everything. Like every piece of drawing that might appear there, the family has to do something for that, and then they're gonna be coloring or painting or whatever. But it was something like that as well. But I think maybe a story about my life. Yeah,
mm, mm,
life. That's
mm,
definitely the one, definitely the one. A story about my life and how maybe small girl from Eswatini rose up the ranks of corporate.
mm.
Yeah, something like that. To just inspire people,
Yeah.
something
And
inspirational.
you mentioned I'm quoting you and Mr. Gama here. The view from the top, it's amazing. That for me. You also like mountains over beaches. We were talking about it earlier, and I can see why you like the view because the view from the top is breathtaking. I also actually want to go into art now as well. Um, you mentioned that technology is going to take over, and you are an artiste. So, what do you think about this whole AI art thing? Do you think that ChatGPT is going to be able to paint, going to be able to replace you as the artist?
I think so.
You don't
I
think so?
genuinely
Why?
don't think so. I just feel like art is an expression of self.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as I know, ChatGPT can't take a human trait. So it doesn't possess, it's not programmed to possess the emotions that people have. It can only apply logic, and art is not logical. It doesn't
Mm,
follow logic. It is
mm,
just you with the brush or you with the pencil. So if I
mm,
could draw you with a pencil, it's me applying myself, my time, and maybe taking out something or maybe drawing you in my own lenses. So
mm,
you would look the same, but the texture of the paper and everything that is incorporated in it will not, it will feel like extraordinary, if I may say
mm,
that.
mm,
You will be able to see what I was seeing when I was drawing you. But with AI, it's like, I'm drawing this. If it will draw you anyways,
mm,
it will just give you a copy of yourself, and it doesn't show anything, it doesn't show emotion, doesn't show any sentiments. It's just there, like everything is quick, everything is fast. But the process of seeing yourself coming together, because if a person uses a certain thing to bring out a certain thing, like maybe let's say if someone were to do a sort of a sculpture of you, it would
mm,
take a lot of time and it will make you appreciate it even more that this person took their time. They invested a portion of their life in
mm,
this piece to bring about maybe your face. That in itself is more valuable than just something, a machine making you out. Like, yes, you can do 3D printing, whatever, but it's not a person who made that. There's always something about human beings being attached to other people. Like, we thrive on connection, we thrive
mm,
on relationships with other individuals. So if the other person took their own time to do something for you, that will always be in your heart. You
mm.
will always value it. It's more valuable than a machine. Like, even if you could be close to AI, maybe be close to like Siri or something like that, it doesn't hit the same. It'll never hit the same. So
Mm,
art really does show how our environment is. It encapsulates our ecosystem. And a person can really bring about different ecosystems in their art. Because someone who brings about abstract art might see the world in a very different lens, and someone who paints abstract art or maybe paints those, those fine lines, and you'd feel like you don't understand what's happening until they explain it to you. Since the world
yeah.
doesn't have these, there's
Mm,
beauty in the chaos, some might say.
mm,
So if a
mm,
person explains that to you like that, you understand that they actually see the world differently. But if you are a person who likes seeing things as they are, like visuals and taking out visuals as they are, then that's another person who likes
mm,
perfectionism, like who
mm.
thrives on seeing things as they are. That really brings about different perspectives.
Yeah.
The different perspectives make up art. They
Mm,
give you a sense of we're all different and our ecosystems are very different. And if we can actually be in those different ecosystems through the pieces that people give us, then we can say that we're all connected.
mm.
The world is becoming
Sure.
one in a sense these days, so we will be connected somehow.
I can hear that you're a poet. I can hear it. And yeah, yeah, immediately my brain started to think about finance. And you know how we call it accounting sciences, financial sciences, the, management sciences. Really, what I'm starting to realize and starting to explore is what about the art of finance? What about the art of constructing a financing structure for the acquisition of a new plant? Because there's an art to it. It's not always going to be this much equity, that much debt. There really is a a play. That's what happens when you become a master of these financial things. What about the art of evaluation? Valuations are so subjective. There's so much taste. There's so much preference involved. Like, what does the premium mean? Like, when do we put in the discount? What determines this multiple? These things are very artistic. And I think that when we start to understand more of our work, we start to look further than just passy, passy, pass. I think we can see art in the topics that we do. What do you think, Adele?
Funny you say that. Because
Uh,
I remember one day, I don't know which year, but I once
uh,
asked someone about accounting, and I said, "Do you think accounting is a science or an art?" They were
uh,
like, "It's a science." And I'm
uh.
like, "'Cause it's logic." But I'm like, maybe it might be an art, because there's a sort of intricacy in the way we approach
Mm.
things.
It's
It's
not black and
very,
white.
it's not. It
Mm.
really isn't. An
Mm.
audit opinion doesn't really follow, it might be different for everybody. So that really
Yeah.
does give you a sense of different perceptions and perspectives. We might
Tax
use the same
planning.
tools, but not come up with the same thing.
Yeah,
Tax
we use
planning.
the same tools and then we might not come up with the same results. We know the basics of this is how you can reduce your tax, this is how but the one tax practitioner can deliver a different plan for your life. I mean, I was thinking even about as a business owner, you could go and you could focus on, for an example, maybe you get a salary from your business. That's a completely different structure as opposed to getting a dividend from your business. So getting a salary from your business, you will be taxed at a higher threshold based on the tax tables. But if you instead take dividends from your business, you'll be taxed at the 20%. So it's like that's art. That's art. That's what you choose. That's all a matter of seeing what's possible. You know what I'm saying?
I agree.
As well, Adele, as well, I started to think about also the 7 years that we have in becoming a CA. 7, 8, could be even 9, but basically the 7 years that, art is actually about stories. When you said it is about the process, the person behind the art, the the actual story behind the creation of this product, I see a lot of this CASA thing being us painting a picture, painting a story. And this 7 years can be your canvas. It really can be your canvas if you don't just look at the science of, yes, I will get the 4 letters. Yes, I will get this mark. Yes, I will get this done and that done, which you absolutely have to do. But then within the frame of the science, you have the painting of the picture. And I just love your poetic and artistic take, which gets me thinking about also the poetic and the artistic side of accounting. Yo, hey, this is a nice one. Yo, yo,
Wow.
yo,
Yeah.
yo.
Crazy. Yo, yo.
I'm like I've never been on this rabbit hole of like the art and accounting. I've thought about it, but I've gone deeper than I've ever gone. I've gone deeper than I've ever gone. Yo, yo, Adele, this was fire. This was fire. This was fire. Adele, for those aspiring CAs out there that are early in the journey, if you could go back to first year, second year, maybe even high school, what would you tell her?
Um, well, so go back to high school, I suppose. I would say be flexible in your approach. Don't be rigid, you know. Allow yourself to tap into more things, enhance yourself, and it does get better with time the more you apply yourself. And success isn't just one way, the different ways of
Mm,
getting there.
mm,
And so by being flexible, you allow yourself to tap into more opportunities that will bring you closer to what you want.
Mm.
And really just stay the course. Stay the course and finish what you've started. Honestly, that's
Mm.
one thing I'd say.
Okay, so be flexible like water. Be like water. That's what Bruce Lee said. It gets better with time. Just literally stay the course, trust the process, and lastly, success isn't one way. So uh, keep keep flexible, and your success is not someone else's success. It's all different. There's different approaches, and understand that your approach is not wrong. It's different. Adele, that was absolutely fantastic. Guys, please, so please, if you've not already, follow this. You might be watching this on YouTube. We usually only do audio versions, but seeing that this is now a remote interview, we have the capacity for video, which I'm so excited to have Adele be, potentially the first video episode. This is amazing, Adele. Um, Please share this with other aspiring chartered accountants out there. We need more support, guys. We need to make sure that we're all gaining all the value from each other, from all these aspiring CAs that are on the platform. I hope that it does not end, but that it begins in CASA. Adele, thank you so much. Yo, this is amazing.
Thank you, Alunga.